7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Rissy.
Here.
Trustee Nordhook.
Here.
Supervisor Lesperance.
Here.
Treasurer Cornstalk.
Here.
Trustee Norddyke.
Present.
Shipley.
Present.
And Clerk Slater present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Article 3, approval of agenda. Before we approve the agenda, I would like to add, or I would make a motion to add a closed session on that would be based on MCL 15.267 section 1, which would be to consider purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease of that property is obtained. Based on that and recent happenings, I'd like to add a closed session to the agenda, which makes most sense to follow part of public comments, Article 11. So let's call it Article 11.5.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? With that, that's a motion by Trustee Norddyke, supported by Trustee Shipley, to approve tonight's agenda with the addition of the section 11.5 on that closed session item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Having no, oh, we do have a presentation. The quarterly dam update?
Yep.
Get excited.
The intention this point forward is to provide a quarterly dam update regarding the Cascade Dam. Nothing extravagantly long or with visual presentation necessarily unless you request it in the future, but just to provide an update on current and within the last quarter operations of the Cascade Dam. I had a conversation with Grace Phillips. She is the regional manager at Eagle Creek, aka STS Hydropower, who the dam is leased to operate. And I just asked her some questions about recent repairs that have been on the dam and this year to date, the operations of the dam. So far this year, having talked to her a couple weeks ago, she said up until June 30th, the dam had been offline. It just had not received enough water coming from upstream to be operational. There was a rain event following that conversation I had with her. I think it was actually, I talked to her on June 25th, and there was a rain event immediately after that, and the dam ran for a period of 2 or 3 days at the end of June 30th to maybe July 2. But short of it continuing to rain, the dam would stay offline, which I believe it has done so. On June 30th, when it was running at approximately 40% capacity. There was a dive crew scheduled to be on site July 7th. They were to make repairs to the tail race and to retrieve and reattach a chain on Tainter Gate 3. The repairs to the tail race, which in other words is where the water would otherwise be output downstream. There was scouring under the concrete ledge or where the water breaks into the river. So they address that scouring of the river bottom, as well as the chain on Tainter Gate 3, also known as it's a radial gate. You probably are familiar. If you look at the dam, it's one of the 3 or 4 gates. One of the chains had fallen off and they were scheduled as part of this dive to reattach that chain. The township, as of, I want to say, 3rd week of June, we had a company named Hi-Fi. They installed a depth gauge at the top of the dam on the upstream side. The depth gauge is calibrated to the dam gauge. It reads within, as far as I can tell, 0.1 foot of the same reading. It's supposed to be about, I think, 663.5 foot elevation. The water level at the top of the dam. And if you look at this water gauge, it's reading somewhere between 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. It's reading as in line with what it's supposed to be, that elevation. This is a public, there's a public page it's attached to. There's a link on the Cascade Dam information page on the Cascade Township website now. Anybody in the public can visit the Cascade Dam page, can click a link. It'll provide you in real time within the last 10 minutes. It updates every 10 minutes, the elevation level of the dam, the upstream side, the river. And it'll give you data up to the last 6 days. And then on the administrative side, my login or the township login, you can go back up to 2 years to look at what the water level has done, if it has fluctuated, when it fluctuated. And that's the extent of really what it does. It'll give you, it's a pretty boring graph to look at up to this point anyway. It really goes 663, 0.4, 0.5, 0.4, 0.5. But if there's ever an event where it does change drastically, we would obviously be in the know and be able to track that. One other note is that Eagle Creek, as you may be aware of, is going through a Part 12D inspection that is through FERC, which is a federal agency that conducts basically what amounts to a safety inspection on dams. It's specific to dams that have a certain level of risk downstream should something happen to those dams. And Cascade Dam does qualify for those inspections. So every 10 years it goes through an inspection cycle. Every 5 years, it's a periodic inspection. And then 5 years later, it's a comprehensive assessment. The comprehensive assessment is basically the periodic inspection plus a few steps more. And those are new regulations as of 2022. So while this, I believe, is the 9th cycle of these type of inspections the dam is going through, the current periodic inspection every 5 years, comprehensive assessment every 5 years. The current set of standards is new within the last few years. So this is kind of the first time it's going through these. But the schedule of that right now looks like they were supposed to provide an inspection report to FERC by the end of August. FERC responds to that report, and then there's a field inspection by the end of September. That includes a third-party independent engineers, dam safety specialists Eagle Creek is in charge of all this. They've already selected, FERC's already approved, and they will be on site along with a representative of Eagle Creek, probably myself or at least somebody from the township. They have Eagle Creek has a safety engineer that'll be there as well. It's like a 4 or 5 person little meeting that they do. They walk around, they look at, the east embankment or the one embankment on one side, the other embankment on the other. They'll look at the abandoned fish ladder. They'll walk inside the powerhouse. It's an inspection that, short of getting on a boat or diving in the water, they look at absolutely everything they can. And then they do have a follow-up. They do have a dive inspection that follows that up, as well as they have I want to say it's called a movement inspection. What do they call it? Movement monitoring survey. So one way or another, they conduct some kind of test that helps determine if the dam is shifting or settling or doing anything otherwise that would be out of range if they expect it to do. So that should conclude end of September. They submit a report, and then that report is reviewed and the results are provided back to the Eagle Creek and the township sometime, I think, next year. Yeah, September 30th. So it takes a year for them to actually review it and provide comment back on it. That's all I have dam related. If there's anything specific anybody wants to know now, I can certainly try to answer it. Otherwise, if you have directions or requests for the future, I'm also happy to take those in person or by email, and I can answer them in the future too as well, Scott.
I have a couple questions
Yeah.
and some comments. Start on the positive. The sensor is fantastic. I'm very excited about that. That I think will help staff answer calls of concern from concerned citizens, and certainly will help us do the same thing. The tail race, is that the same void or scouring that they filled in I think we filled that with riprap in the 80s. Is it the same spot? And did they just put riprap in it again? As a kid, when they did that and I was out there, I thought that was strange. They didn't just back up a cement truck and fill it up,
It's very 80s, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to ask specifically what they did. I know they were addressing it.
Just curious.
What exactly it
Coming
was.
back.
Yeah. What exactly it was, if it was the same thing and if they're addressing it the same way, I'd have to follow up to get exact details on that.
Okay. And years ago, we used to get annual reports from STS that would show power generation of the dam on an annual basis. Do they still provide those, or can they provide those? At some time, it'd be neat to see a chart, if that's an option, that would show that maybe a 5-year history or something of just kind of get an idea of the highs and lows.
I will certainly ask Grace Phillips that. I know as part of having looked over the lease recently, I know part of the lease that it dictates that they have to provide us with some version of an annual report. Whether or not the energy output is provided in that report, I'm not entirely sure, but I would have to look into the details of that. And honestly, they're very, especially Grace in general, is very forthright with information about the dam. At least she has been recently to the township. So I'm
Okay.
more than comfortable to ask her that, and I'm sure we would get an answer.
Yeah, I know they used to, because they used to, in fact, the manager used to present it to everyone. So,
Mhm.
not that that needs to happen. it'd be
Yeah.
nice to
No,
look at that information.
we're within our rights to ask for some version of a report from them. I'm just not sure we've done that in recent years, but certainly I can touch base and we can do that again as part of our updates.
Thank you for the quarterly update. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
What is the annual lease income that the township receives from STS? Is it 80?
I'd say it's 72.
Okay.
I have to go back and check the budget, but I believe that's what it is.
Eric,
Mhm.
if during this inspection, just
Yeah.
so that the public listening understands, if there was deficiencies or any problems that were cited, who pays for those?
So the lease stipulates a pretty specific set of circumstances for dam repairs. Generally speaking, and I'll be careful and don't take me necessarily word for word because the lease spells it out very specifically. There's like a major repair fund in that both the township and the leasee pay into. So, and it's not proportional. So I think the township, for example, when it started, paid 15 grand a year into it. The leasee paid 5 grand into a year into it. And now if a repair was necessary on the dam, if it was deemed necessary, that fund would cover repairs over the order of $50,000, I think. And keep in mind, this was written up in maybe 2002, and it's written in the contract or the lease that it adjusts with inflation. So those aren't the numbers today, but that's the spirit of the system that would pay for that. I believe the leasee is required to pay. They're required to pay up to like $15,000 repair in dams. Or they're required to pay up to $15,000 in repairs themselves. And then there might be a gap between that 15 and 50,000. There's thresholds that activate when you access that major repair fund, when the leasee, I think it's up to 15K, is expected to float it themselves. And then I think they're supposed to go to their insurance first in a major repair situation. So say there's a crack in the dam, it needs to be repaired, it costs $300,000. I think they have to go to their insurance first. They have to carry, and the lease stipulates certain parameters of insurance they have to carry. And I think the insurance covers it first. So if the insurance has a $50,000 deductible, maybe the insurance covers $250, the major repairs fund covers $50, in which the township puts in $15K a year, they put in $5K. So that's the nature of it. And I didn't do it complete justice just because there's a lot of language in there, but that's the spirit of it.
Okay, just wondering who,
Mhm.
since it sounds like the first time we're
Yep.
having a different standards of an inspection, I would assume the different standards are a little more stringent. So just wondering if something were to come about with the inspection that needs to be repaired, who pays for that?
Mhm.
Thanks.
So the annual lease, say 72,000, does the township receive that regardless of if or how much electricity the dam produces?
Yes.
So Eagle Creek or STS assumes
Yep, it's stated in our revenue
Mhm.
every year in the budget.
And offline, Eric, offline, does that
It's not making power. It's
putting
just
water
letting-
through but not making?
It's just letting water through. Yeah, it's not turning and making power.
How long is our lease with them? I'm sorry, just wondering.
I believe it renewed at the end of 24 and it goes through the end of 29. That's what I might have it in front of me, but that's what I think I read today.
2036, but I can do that.
It might be like recurring until that period, but I think you have to renew it every 5 years, but it might, because what I read, I think it started in like 02 and it recurred every 5 years or something. And we were in like the 4th or 5th cycle, but I won't say that that's certain.
I think they redid it in 2017, and I thought they did an 18-year term. It was a weird term, but I could be wrong.
Any idea why, so STS or Eagle Creek, if they're offline, so they're not making income from electricity, but they still are, what incentive do they have to manage it? And they're paying us,
That's great. Well, lots of rebates and grants. That's the truth.
Oh, so it's just like
Better
public
for state.
transportation?
They're probably being subsidized somehow, but they have an agreement with us, so it's in their agreement to pay us, so.
Okay. I just wondered from their perspective, why would you pay us 72 to keep it off? But that makes sense.
It's a small part of the portfolio, right? So
It's like the rapid.
Yeah.
It's clean.
Okay.
you can get rid of the rapid.
Well, it's clean energy.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Any additional questions or comments? Good to get these on the agendas. Thank you. Public comments, anything on tonight's agenda that's not already scheduled for a public hearing? So that has to do with streetlights, the solicitor ordinance, and then the zoning issue surrounding certain overlay districts around the airport. Public comments on any other issues will occur after the board conducts its business. So with that, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for record keeping. Anyone virtually? Article 6, approval of consent agenda. Is there a motion or discussion?
Shipley makes a motion to approve the consent agenda.
The motion by trustee Shipley, supported by treasurer Corstans to approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Financial actions, Article 7, specifically invoices scheduled to be paid July 10th. Is there a discussion or a motion?
Make a motion to approve financial actions.
Support.
It's a motion by treasurer Corstans, supported by trustee Nordhook to approve financial actions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Having no unfinished business, Article 9, new business. First item 041-2025, consider approval of purchase of stock replacement streetlights. Manager Smith and Engineer Thorne.
Yes, our Parks and Facilities Director, Dan Zwick, came to me looking for replacement streetlight parts. As lately we've had a couple down streetlights, particularly where they occur is 28th Street, that kind of ornate style craft to Cascade and along Cascade Road. That style streetlight, as well as we had one in the Centennial Park area recently had to be replaced, and then west of 96 that it's about a 20-foot tall. It's very basic looking LED light. There's about 2 dozen of them over there. I think there's actually, doesn't matter. There's not a lot of them over there, but they get hit probably, I don't know, once every couple of years. Anyway, the lead time on these type of the poles and the luminaires tends to be at least 10 to 12 weeks. And then you factor in having to subcontract the installation of these. It ends up being a good deal of time. So we try as best we can to hold stock, or at least we have in the past, to hold stock at building and grounds so that they can kind of mobilize replacements on a very quick basis. So all this is doing, having exhausted those stocks, is they would like to, having talked to Dan, replace these quantities of lights so that we can continue to replace as necessary. So we actually went out and in the past, we kind of dealt with a couple vendors. I reached out a little further this time, reached out to 6 or 7 different vendors for pricing, and it was pretty well skewed across the board. Gray Bar was the lowest, having reference back to invoices in the past. We have used Gray Bar for lights. It seems like good success. So having talked to them, I'm confident that they could provide us the lights in the intended time frame. But all these would do is they would be for the purpose of holding stock.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of stock of replacement streetlights.
I'll support that. It's traditionally been an issue getting replacement lights or getting the contractor on a timely basis. So it makes good common sense. Plus, we're probably going to lock them in at a lower level today than what we will 2 months from now.
Just a question.
Mhm.
So if some of these are within like Centennial Park or areas that the DDA covers.
Yep.
I'm assuming the general fund is paying for this stockpile or extra lights. Will those then be charged to the DDA if they are?
Says on here.
In the DDA, this is coming out of the DDA funds, underneath the budgetary implications.
Okay.
There's a line item. It's actually pretty significant. The reason it's significant is one of the legacy projects that we've been working on is the replacement of all of the streetlights because they're inconsistent in design and reliability through Centennial Park and up and down 28th Street. So Dan and Eric are gonna be tackling that in the future. So that line item, although it probably won't be spent in 2025, we'll be asking to carry that over to 2026.
They're all in the DTA area.
How many total do you think we have?
Streetlights,
300 and
372.
So they'll have.
And there's,
Switching all of them to a new style?
to be determined.
yeah,
The Centennial Park ones have been a problem since I've been here because
yeah, so
Since before you were.
the original Centennial Park ones, a lot of them, if you go along Charlevoix and if you go along, what's the road near the back? Orchard Vista, maybe? Or I think Orchard Vista was 2018, Charlevoix and not Tahoe, but half of them were like 2011, half of them were like 2018, I think. And a lot of them have drivers, not a lot of them, there's several. The drivers are failing in the lights. And so they have intermittent either flashing or they don't work all the time. Sometimes they're off, sometimes they're on. They have issues that arguably were a manufacturer defect, but they're lights that are at this point somewhere between 14 and 8 years old. And a lot of them carry 5, 6, 7-year warranties. And it's not a light, that luminaire anymore, that's made. So when we replace those, which is on this list, the luminaire that replaces those is visually, it looks like the same light. It's a different manufacturer that, for all we know, does not have that same issue.
is that same light even produced, you know?
No, I don't believe you can get that light anymore. That same they still manufacture lights, but not that model. And that's the case for a lot of these lights, frankly. They have a life cycle of probably less than 5 or 10 years and they move on to a new model. A lot of times you wouldn't know if you didn't look, but to the untrained eye, it looks the same. But a lot of these, like Cascade, when they put in the sidewalk on the west side of Cascade Road, north of the village, our DDA at the time added several streetlights. They look visually very similar to the rest of what's on 28th Street. What's southern more in the village area, they're not. They are a slightly, and that's what's ordered here, is they are slightly different. If you look at them, the base is slightly different. The tops are slightly different. But to actually replace, you could at the time 2 years ago replace the exact same light that's on 28th Street, that's on Cascade Road in the village area. It was at least $10,000 per light. It was just so cost prohibitive. And this alternative was $4,000 or $5,000. That's why the DDA went with it. That's why we still go with it to replace the missing or the hit lights in those areas.
Is not an exciting one because it was kind of a bad purchase in
No,
2018.
No, and that needs to be a more frank conversation
Yeah.
about what Centennial Park looks like in the future. But for right now, this gets us to a place where we can maintain what we have.
Exactly. What about in that plaza where like Chow Hound and stuff, is that private? You'll see streetlights down,
In the.
like
plaza?
that
That's-
little strip right by the.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's private as far as I know. I've never understood or seen that to be public owned or maintained. I know, I'm confident that's private. If it's public, then it's well hidden from me. I don't see anything that makes it public.
So that was a motion by trustee Rizzi, supported by trustee Shipley to approve purchase of stock replacement streetlights as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item 042-2025, consider approval of resolution of adoption of ordinance amendment for solicitation permits. Manager Smith?
Thank you, Supervisor. So this is the request to actually adopt the ordinance amendments to the solicitation ordinance that was presented, introduced at the last board meeting. I want to highlight a couple of changes that were made to the draft. If you look at page 4 under partial exemptions, we did exempt students K through 12 for those types of activities from having to apply for a permit and pay the fee. And then something else came up over the course of the last 2 weeks, which is the topic of canvassers. And there are certain canvassers, organizations that are nonprofits that are engaged in political organizing or canvassing that are exempt, like Clean Water Action. Somewhat controversial. There's not anything we can do about that. We have a memo for our attorneys. They supplied a packet that proves that they can do this and canvass the streets. We're going to update our website because the update in the ordinance to address that is that they don't have to make the permit, but they have to register that with us that they're out on the streets. So we put that in the ordinance. Once we get those registrations from a canvasser, we will be putting that on the website as well to let everybody know that they're out there. Very similar to what we do with solicitors, but we will put them into two categories. And ironically, I said that we had many applications this year. Just on Friday, we got 19 applications from one company, and not one of the applicants is from the state of Michigan.
What
So-
type of company?
Pest control. Yes, it is. So, it's very timely that this is being passed. We have not issued those permits yet. We're going through the process, and working with our attorneys on which ordinance, is going to apply. So, but with that, those were the changes, and you'll see, the website will be updated with the canvassing language and the do not knock registry.
Further discussion or motion?
I make a motion that we approve the resolution of adoption of the ordinance amendments.
It's a motion by trustee Shipley, supported by trustee Nordike to approve the resolution adopting the ordinance amendment for solicitation permits as presented. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Rissy,
Yes.
trustee Nordhook,
Yes.
trustee Shipley,
Yes,
trustee Nordyke,
Yes.
treasurer Corstange,
Yes.
clerk Slater, yes, supervisor Lesbrunz.
Yes. Motion carried. Item 043-2025. Consider approval of resolution of adoption to ratify amendments to the zoning ordinance and zoning map regarding the Airport Commerce, otherwise known as AC zoning district, and overlay districts A, B, and C. Manager Smith, anything?
This is the second reading and adoption request for the ordinance that was introduced at the last meeting. I went to an explanation and I think the attorney explained it better, so I'm not going to try and explain it again.
We did receive one more letter from the airport. It's inserted in your packet.
Anything additional or different than its initial correspondence?
Not really. It's same request or same tone.
Any additional concerns or responses from our attorney to their most recent correspondence?
Not that I've received. We did forward it on to them.
My only comment is the same comment I made at the planning commission meeting, that I find it ironic that the airport voices their concern, given the fact that they want this all switched so that they have full control, no public hearing and no public comment period, so that they can control all of their airport or their space within the airport. And I just find it ironic that they're always commenting and giving us their opinion on things, but they think it's appropriate for them to have control with no public comment.
So you're referring to their position when they filed a lawsuit against us, saying that Cascade Township has zero authority to oversee zoning or any regulation of any property that they own or control?
Exactly, and they have no public comment period. They have no notification. They have nothing for any of their neighbors. And I just find it very ironic that they continue to
Exercise their ability
yeah,
to publicly comment on what we're doing as we go through the process
Yes.
properly and in
properly.
public.
Yes, but they think it's appropriate for them to not have to do that with any of their neighbors or any of the residents that live by there. So that's it.
And their comments are based on the fact that they think we have zero authority, that they have sole discretion.
Yep.
All right, I agree with you. Appreciate your comment. Disagree with the CEO's letter. Any additional comments or questions? Motions?
Nobody's gonna do it.
I'll make a motion.
I was like, I gotta find it.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution of adoption to ratify amendments to the zoning ordinance and the zoning map regarding the airport commerce, otherwise known as AC zoning district and overlay districts A, B, and C as presented.
Support.
It's a motion by Supervisor Lesbrunz,
Done.
piggybacked by trustee Rizzi. Clerk Slater, please call the roll.
Trustee Nordyke,
Yes.
trustee Shipley,
yes,
trustee Nordhook,
Yes.
treasurer Corstange,
Yes.
trustee Rissy,
Yes.
Clerk Slater, yes. Supervisor Lesbrunz.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Having no discussion items, Article 11, public comment. So now is the time to comment on anything, whether it's on tonight's agenda or not.
Good evening, Scott Van Solkema again. The bridge is looking nice over Cascade Road, so that looks good. Glad to see that that's done. I am curious about any type of directed patrol that the sheriff's department can possibly make, possibly even in conjunction with the speed signs that we do have that I know are difficult to set up. And I would even offer to set them up in an area. Sometimes at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, people use the traffic lights as almost like a drag strip Christmas tree. It hits green, and I don't know how fast cars are going, but the engine revving is extremely loud. Typically, with the speed signs, the police usually shut them off at like this 40 or maybe 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. My suggestion is let them go up to 99 miles an hour and possibly, some of these vehicles are sort of stand out. So if people are walking, they can actually see how fast that car is going, maybe take a picture and or file complaints. Or also in conjunction, if they do not want to do that, maybe getting, because those speed signs do track when vehicles are, they track the high speed every 15 minutes. So if there's, say, an anomaly of 70 miles an hour or 80 or however fast some of these cars go, it's recorded. Obviously, then that does take someone to go through the data and do that. But getting a sheriff's deputy in the area around those times would kind of be beneficial because, also on Thornapple River Drive, I'm sure, Grace, if you're out on your back deck along the river there, you can hear just cars and motorcycles, especially speeding up in a 35 mile an hour zone. And again, sometimes if I'm out walking my dog, I can see him and they're zipping along at like 60 in a 35 mile an hour zone there, where a fatal crash did happen. Going close to 2 years now. So, which the signs on the Alan Cox Memorial Parkway still haven't been up by the signs. So
That was the original. I gotta be careful because that was with the prior power structure, but I think the bench was,
well, there was the bench, then the people put their other sign, but if they're going off of with the Ryan Marsman Memorial Parkway, they have the little individual signs on the thing. So I don't know if they were going for that or the bench or all sorts of things, but I do know that the benefactors did put in a nice bench, and they also put in a big bronze plaque down near Bridgewater and Thornapple. So just curious if there's anything that we can do to address these anomalous or the basically the race car type vehicles and the high speed. So, and put those signs back to good use. And again, I will offer my services. I do know how to use those signs. I did hook them up in the past. They are not user friendly, but I do know how to do it. Thank you.
thank you. Any other comments? Anyone virtually? Article 11.5, this would be the additional item pursuant to MCL 15.267, section 1, going into a closed session to purchase or lease real property.
I make a motion to go to closed session.
Motion by Clerk Slater, supported by Treasurer Forstange to enter closed session. Clerk Slater, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Rissy,
Yes.
Treasurer Forstange,
Yes.
Trustee Nordhook,
Yes.
Trustee Shipley,
Yes.
Trustee Nordyke,
Yes.
Clerk Slater, yes. Supervisor Lesbrunz.
Yes. Motion carried. We are now in closed session. And then following that, we'll return for manager and board comments.
Make a motion to return to open session.
Support.
All in favor? closed session.
Shipley makes a motion to direct our manager to carry on the actions as discussed during closed session.
Support.
Motion by trustee Shipley, supported by treasurer Corstand, directing manager Smith to what's the word?
Pursue.
Go forward as discussed in closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Manager comments.
Thank you, Supervisor. Just a couple things. I just wanted to remind everybody that the next concert series at Friendship Park is on July 17th. So that is next week at 6:30 at Friendship Park. The DDA, we were talking about Centennial Park earlier about the lights and some of the issues in Centennial Park. And I just want everybody to know at home and then also here, the DDA approved at their meeting last month to fill in all of the islands that were put in quite some time ago and are a maintenance nightmare. The road commission, they don't like them either. It's very expensive to take them out. So there is some calming measures to that with speed, or some speed calming measures that they serve. So we're gonna fill them in. So Dan's working with a contractor on that, but the DDA did approve to pay for that.
Like,
Take care
fill
of that.
them in, does that mean keep the curbs and just?
So you'll still see the islands there. If you hit them, it'll be like an oversized speed bump. So they'll be filled in with concrete.
Brick, Dan,
Concrete. Mhm.
just solid.
We could
We do a brick, some decorative
Yep,
stamp.
we could do that for sure. Yep.
That would look so much
Yeah.
better.
So we get calls and complaints constantly. There's 7 of them. There's no participation from the businesses in the park. There's like an association. It's all on the township to take care of. So we're gonna take care of it.
There's one business that was offering.
Well, right. Yes, you're correct. So bridge is open, as was said earlier, which is great. We're still waiting on the lights, so it's not complete yet. The lights are still coming. I did ask Eric because I was concerned because I didn't see any spacing in the fencing as to where the lights were gonna go. They actually are gonna go behind the fencing. They've constructed the posts, so they're not gonna actually impede any of the walkways or break up the fencing that's on either side of the road. So more to come on that. And I have something else written, but I don't know what it means.
About
So
replacing the fireplace in the library yet?
I did bring that up to the library, so we're going to look at some options. No one up until the point that I brought it up saw that there was anything wrong with the brick.
Wow.
And then when I used the example that we use, like,
It's
oh,
not
you're
brick.
right. It's tile.
Card.
So,
Wow.
so yes, that's more conversation to come on that.
Sweet.
And then the grand opening at our next meeting, for the next meeting, the library official grand opening with a ribbon cutting will be on the 23rd before this meeting at 5:30. So I'll send out a reminder to everybody to do that because that'll be a nice opportunity to cut a ribbon and get a tour by Lulu. But it is open to the public. They did a soft opening.
Oh, they already have.
Yeah, it's open. Yep.
That'll make a lot of people happy.
A lot of people are very happy. Some are not.
With the fireplace?
The new layout, yeah. The new layout. Some got very comfortable with how it used to be.
Change is scary.
Yeah. So. But Lulu's great. So.
Board comments, manager, trustee Shipley?
Always stand up and thank our large crowd for persevering and sticking around. I promise that what we talked about will probably be joyful.
Trustee Nordic?
I concur with trustee Shipley. Thank you so much for coming. It's great to see you as always. So appreciate you staying. And another big thank you to Manager Smith on what we passed tonight. The Do Knock registry is going to be incredibly popular. And did we pass it before Ada?
No, we did
All
not.
right.
2 weeks behind them.
All right. That's all right.
Save some significant legal bills
Absolutely.
piggybacking on their things.
We look both progressive and conservative in our spending. So I
Yeah.
love it. So great. Awesome stuff, Jade.
Thank you.
I just wanted to put a shout out to our staff for an outstanding job and a lot of efforts for the 4th of July celebration in Cascade. I did notice, I think we had the probably shortest parade ever in the history of Cascade. We did not seem to have a lot of participation, and maybe we need to put our heads together and see if it's something we've done with the registration or if it's something else, but.
We loved a short parade.
Well, the short parade was good, but I mean, we didn't even have it, like, there were, what, 3 businesses in it with floats? I don't think there was a single neighborhood association. There was maybe 2 antique cars, no semis. I mean, it was, yeah, it was brief. So, which is good. I mean, there are good things, but I'd just like to see a little more community, involvement the way we used to have perhaps. And, yeah, I think it was less than an hour for the bike parade and the main parade together, which is, and I didn't see the fire department's dunk tank. And I was really hoping to find that. So
I'll have to take that up with the chief. I don't know.
we will. Yeah, I think we should have him in it next year. So, no, aside from that, that's all I had.
All good. Thank you.
No comments.
No comments.
No comments. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.